Welcome to Love in Life, a guide to a positive mindset. My aim is to show you that the key to a happier and more positive mind is to love the life you have. We will look at tips and tools you can use to improve your mindset, and the best thing is, we'll all be on this journey together. Welcome to Love in Life, where I just want to say thank you so much for all the feedback I've had on last week's episode. I will say I had less downloads last week than I would usually, or where I have than I have the last few weeks. But I'm guessing that's because the younger generation of my listener, I guess, probably saw the word menopause in the title and thought, fuck that, which is fair enough. But I will say, whilst I had less downloads last week, I did have more feedback than I normally would have, and so I really appreciate that. And yeah, it's good to know that the information that I sort of researched and gave last week on hormone changes during perimenopause were helpful. And yeah, it's definitely something that I am very passionate about and will talk about more in the future. But maybe I will do it on a separate platform. I'm not sure yet, because obviously it's not going to appeal to all of my listeners. So I still want to engage all my listeners, but just maybe target the more mature listener, shall we say, in a separate platform. So watch this space. I'll let you know what happens with that. I'm going to be honest with you and say that I was expecting a bit of more of an upbeat week this week, but I've had lots of personal stuff going on. So I've had quite an up and down week. Obviously, I'm super happy because Alfie's back from Dubai, and I just love having all my family here with me. I mean, God knows what I'm going to be like when they get to a point where they're going to university and moving out and things like that, but we'll deal with that when that time comes. But yeah, I'm so happy that he had the best time and that he's back. But yeah, I've had lots of personal stuff going on as well. So I don't know, I do feel a bit downbeat and a bit unmotivated, if I'm honest. And I really need to, obviously I'm the person who's responsible for my own energy. So I have to really focus on getting my energy back to where it was, so as I can feel more motivated and take the steps that I need to get there. And I guess this is the thing, like we all have periods of time where we just feel a bit low on energy. We're in a bit of a lull. Is that a word? I think it is. And I am having one of these times, I'm not going to lie. Like, obviously, I've been so good in the past at getting up early and having a really great morning routine. And yeah, I'm not going to lie, that's gone out of the window at the moment. So I really need to get back on track with that. Maybe I'll have to go back and listen to my old episodes about morning routines and building good habits. But yeah. Anyway, because I've been feeling like this, I was a little bit like, oh, I don't know. You know, it has a knock-on effect on how you feel, doesn't it? So I reached out to one of my listeners who, she always gives me loads of feedback and I really appreciate her. So I reached out to her and said, you know, is there anything that I should cover on the podcast? Anything that you would like to hear from me? Just because I was struggling to think of ideas of what to talk about, I guess, because that's what happens when we're low on energy. Like, we struggle with our creativity. So yeah, I reached out to her and she gave me some suggestions of what she would like to hear. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. You know who you are. And so yeah, the first thing I'm going to talk about is affirmations, which is obviously quite relevant to how I'm feeling at the moment. This could really help me. So one of the things that this particular listener said to me is that unsure of how to use positive affirmations and, what tense to use them in. And there's just a lot of information out there, isn't there? So let's just make it clear in one episode my view on affirmations and how to use them. So I guess, first of all, what are affirmations? So affirmations are statements or thoughts that we say or think to ourselves. And these can be positive or negative. They can have a huge impact on our self-esteem and our self-worth, depending on how we naturally think. And this can obviously be positive or negative. So, for example, if you make a mistake, if you do something wrong, and you say to yourself, oh God, I'm so fucking stupid, that is a negative affirmation. You're telling yourself you're stupid. And the minute you catch yourself doing things like that, it's really important to turn it round into a more positive affirmation. So yes, you might have made a mistake. And yes, you might automatically think, I'm so stupid. But if you find yourself doing this, then reframe that thought by, I've made a mistake, but I've got so much to learn. You might have heard me saying in the past that I have used affirmations as part of my morning routine. Now, at the moment, I'm going to be honest, I don't do that. Like I said, my morning routine has completely gone out the window. But for a very long time, I was very good at writing out my affirmations every single morning. And at one point, I was even doing it multiple times a day. I'll go into that a little bit more later. But affirmations can become part of your healthy morning routine. And there are a few, let's say rules that I believe are really important when you make your affirmations. And the first one is to make it in the present tense. So let's say, for example, you want to increase your wealth. So one of your affirmations could be, I will have more money than I need. But does anyone notice a problem with that? The problem with this is, if you are saying you will have, that's always going to stay in the future. So you need to think of a way that you can say that is in the present tense. Such as, I have more than enough. Rule number 2 is to make it as positive as you can. So let's take that same affirmation about wealth. I have more than enough. How can we make that more positive? Personally, I would add what I call a power word. So I always have more than enough, or I consistently have more than enough. And just by adding those couple of little extra words, always, consistently, think of some positive, confident words that you can add to your affirmations that just make it pop that little bit more. Does that make sense? Okay, rule number 3 is to make it specific. So, for example, how we've just changed that affirmation about wealth into, I consistently have more than enough. More than enough what? That could refer to confidence. That could refer to love in relationships. But we want to make it specific to wealth. So I consistently have more than enough money. Or I consistently earn more than enough money. If you've got a really specific goal in mind, like let's say you want to earn $3,000 a month. To some of you that might sound a lot, to some of you that might sound not enough, but let's just use that as an example. So that would be, I consistently earn £3,000 every month, or my business consistently turns over £3,000 a month. Do you know what I mean? So make it as specific as is relevant to you. Rule number 4 is keep it believable. So whilst I encourage you to push for something that is more than what you can currently have, you still need to make it believable. So if you wanted $10,000 a month, then unless you are, like I've talked about in the past, being energetically aligned, unless you are aligned and doing the actions that somebody who earns $10,000 a month is making, then you're not going to take turn over $10,000 a month. You're not going to earn $10,000 a month. So your affirmations need to be relevant and believable to something that you believe is achievable. So obviously, if you are trying to increase your wealth, then making small incremental changes is the best and most achievable way of doing this. So if you currently earn $3,000 a month, but you want to get to $10,000 a month, then obviously that is a massive, massive jump. That is more than, and I'm not very good at maths, but that is more than a 200% increase. So, just making it more believable to you, something that you can actually get on board with, and something that you can actually take the relevant steps to make that achievable. I always think, just think about what are the next 1 or 2 steps that you need to make in order to achieve a particular goal that you're after, and incorporate those 2 particular steps into your affirmation. So rather than thinking of the end goal, think of the next 2 steps that you need to take. So probably sensibly, if you're currently earning £3,000 a month, but you want to be earning 10, then a realistic amount might be 50% increase on what you're earning now. So that would take it up to 4,500. So make your affirmation, once you've started regularly earning £3,000 a month, then step it up to £4,500 a month. And then once you're regularly achieving £4,500 a month, then you add, your next believable amount onto it. Does that make sense? Because the whole point in affirmations is to eventually make your subconscious brain believe that this is what it is. Essentially, you are reprogramming your subconscious mind. But in order to do this has to be done over and over again in order for our brains to create new neural pathways. And these new neural pathways, these new ways of thinking, they create physical connections to these new thoughts. So that's when our emotions come into it. And if you think about what we've talked about in the past, when your emotions and the way that you feel creates your vibration, the frequency that you're vibrating at, it's once we feel those emotions that we become those emotions and those new ways of thinking. I hope this is making sense. So, rule number 5 is to repeat these affirmations regularly. There's absolutely no point in creating your affirmations and then doing fuck all with them. So add these to your morning routine, or if you're shit at getting up in the mornings and you get up and you go straight to work, that's fine. Find some time throughout the day or at the end of the day where it makes sense to you, where it fits in with your natural pattern to repeat your affirmations. And this can be done by reading them out loud. So if you write them down, you read them out loud. You can create a screensaver on your phone. You can actually, I think there's ways that you can like set a reminder, and then those, I mean, I don't know what phones are capable of anything nowadays. I'm sure there must be ways of setting a reminder and those affirmations coming up on your screen at certain times and then reading them out loud. Other ways that some people do it is to write your affirmations on the mirror that you're getting ready in the morning, and then just repeat that, whether that's out loud or in your head as you're getting ready. But basically, the more you can repeat your affirmations, the more your subconscious brain is going to believe those affirmations, yeah? And there is some evidence to show that by having, like I've said in my when I've talked about vision boards before, having them on your phone as your screensaver, the more you see it, or the more routine it becomes to see it, the more habit it becomes to see it, the less you actually start consciously seeing it, and the more it goes into your subconscious. Rule number 6 is to pay close attention to wording. And this kind of does relate back to rule number 2 about making it positive. But something I've really noticed whilst I've been researching this today, right? So I've gone through and looked at some different websites about affirmations, and I found one here, and some of the suggested affirmations, personally, I don't think they're worded very well. I think they could be worded in a more positive way. So, for example, let me find one. Okay, so this one is affirmations for work productivity. So the suggestions are, all I can do is my best. Like, personally, that doesn't sound very empowering to me. All I can do is my best. I would probably reword that as, I always do my best. Another one is, failure is part of success. Now, the worry here for me is that failure is a negative word. So if you have, whilst your intention isn't negative, the word is still negative. It still has failure in the affirmation. So I would reword that as, learning from experiences is part of success. Other ones I've come across are, I was built to endure any chaos. Again, I would reword this, because the words endure and chaos are not something I would want to put in a positive affirmation. They don't sound particularly positive, do they? Plus, I was is in the past, and we want it present tense. So I would reword this as, I am able to deal with any situation. That's still quite simple, but it's way more positive than, I was built to endure any chaos. Another one I've come across is, it's okay that the struggle happened. Like, I get what they're trying to say. It is okay that the struggle happened. Of course it is. But that isn't particularly, again, it's not particularly empowering. So I would actually reword this as something like, I accept past experiences and move on with grace. Okay, so those are my 6 rules, which I've literally come up with on the spot today. So just to go over them again quickly. rule number 1 is make sure it's in the present tense. Number 2 is make sure it is positive and contains power words, empowering words. Number 3 is to make sure it's as specific as it needs to be, relevant to your goal, whatever that is. Rule number 4 is to make it believable, something that you can really get behind and take the inspired action that you need to take. Rule number 5 is to repeat it as often as you can. So to include this in your routine at some point in the day. And make sure that you make a habit of doing this. Rule number 6 is to pay attention to wording. And that's very similar to making it positive. But once you've created your affirmation, just go over it and just maybe look at any words you can rephrase. So if there's any don'ts, like I don't have, do you know what I mean? Or I don't worry. You don't really want to have the word don't in one of your affirmations. So just pay attention to the wording and reword it in a more positive way. Right, what I want to do now is I want to go through some really powerful affirmations that I, along with my clients, have created during our belief coding sessions. So at the end of a belief coding session, just to let you know, we always create some new beliefs that we then imprint. That this is the belief coding. It's imprinting new beliefs and replacing your old negative beliefs with empowering new beliefs. And then at the end of a session, I then send my client all their new beliefs over to them, and then they use them like affirmations. So, so when it comes to self-confidence, self-worth, some of the most amazing ones I've come across so far are: I am strong and powerful, and my boundaries are unbreakable. I am worthy of self-respect and self-compassion. I am more than enough, and I'm loved and accepted. And so I've got a couple of different areas which you are absolutely feel free to use these affirmations if you want to. So for if you have a fear of judgment, and I'm sure you'll understand that, obviously I've spoken about this before, so I'm sure you'll understand that some of these affirmations are ones that I've created for myself. So I don't care what people think about me. Actually, mine was, I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks about me, but that is something that one of my clients used. I don't care what other people think about me. Obviously, I know what I said just a minute ago about having the word don't in them, but there isn't, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't really think of a way to rephrase that whilst being empowering. I don't care what people think about me, without taking the word don't out. Anyway, I am confident in my own skin. And finally, I am all the approval I need. If you suffer with anxiety of some sort, or just for general mood lifting, some great affirmations are: I am calm and relaxed in every moment. I have endless amounts of positive energy. I feel light and carefree. And if you are trying to focus on wealth, then some affirmations you could use are: money is energy and matches my energy. My work is of high service and worthy of compensation. Now, I cannot claim that one. That is actually Amanda Francis. That's one that I use from Amanda Francis. So my work is of high service and worthy of compensation, which obviously reflects that the work that I put into it, I receive back in the form of money, energy. And then finally, I easily attract more than enough money for my needs and desires. So hopefully you can take some of those affirmations, or hopefully using my rules of creating positive, powerful affirmations, you can create some of your own. I would really love to hear what you come up with. So please do, when you've created some, put them in your stories and let everyone know what your affirmations are. Tag me in your affirmations. Put them in your stories on Instagram and tag me in it. I would love that, and I will share as many as possible. So just to finish off, I guess I've got a few how would you say this? A few points to make about affirmations. So whilst they can be amazing and they can contribute to changing your subconscious thoughts, reprogramming your subconscious thoughts, this can take time. This can take an awful lot of time, especially if, depending on how many you have, I guess your brain can get overwhelmed with how much change is going on in one place, or how much you're trying to change at one time. So personally, I would keep your list of affirmations relatively small. So maybe focus on 1 or 2 areas of your life that you feel there is a void, or you feel that there are goals. Choose 1 or 2 areas of your life, and then have two or three affirmations for each area. So then really all you've got is like 5 or 6 affirmations in one go. And this way, you're running less risk of it getting overwhelmed and your brain just thinking, fuck off, I don't know what you're going on about, I don't believe you. Also, something to bear in mind is things I've talked about recently with regards to feminine energy and letting things go with the flow. Now, with things that you're trying to manifest, and obviously affirmations is one way to work towards manifesting, try not to put too much pressure on these affirmations coming to fruition. Like, trust the process, trust the universe helps you out, and trust the universe that makes things happen in the right time. That is the right time for you. So whilst it's obviously great to have affirmations, I quite often think that going with the flow and trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, trusting the universe is a much calmer and open way of manifesting. It can be really tempting to try and force and try and put too much pressure, so much pressure on your goals and manifestations that actually, when they don't happen, or if they don't happen in the time frame that you want them to happen, this leads to frustration, which obviously is not a very positive emotion. It's not very high vibe. So the more pressure you put on yourself, the more frustrated you're going to feel. You want to feel in a state of gratitude for what you've got. So if you can combine gratitude with affirmations and just not put too much pressure on the whole process, then this is probably the easiest way we can manifest what we are aligned to. And to be honest with you, there's no right or wrong. I say not to put too much pressure on it and, not to get too frustrated. But then people have manifested through frustration because they're so desperate for what they want. They so desperately want their goals and want their achievements to come to fruition that leads them to take the inspired action. So just do what feels right for you. don't just listen to my advice, go and listen to others as well, because everybody's got different things to say. Everybody's got different experiences. Like I went through a phase of, like I said, writing down my affirmations every single morning, every single lunchtime. But then it did lead to frustration. I even went through a phase of listening to subliminals, which I haven't actually touched upon today, which I was hoping to. But subliminals are affirmations behind other audio, which bypasses the conscious mind, and goes straight to the subconscious. I'll touch on that in another episode. But I even went through a phase of listening to subliminals multiple times a day. And, oh God, I just remember the feeling of, oh my God, it's too much. I was putting so much pressure on myself, and it just felt really overwhelming. And yeah, as you can imagine, I didn't actually manifest much in that time, apart from chaos, because that was how my brain felt. Another thing to note, I guess, is that whilst obviously I've said it can take a long time for these affirmations to actually make a difference in your subconscious thinking, and even then, if you have a past trauma that has created limiting beliefs which stops you believing these affirmations, then that makes it really difficult for your these affirmations to form part of your subconscious thinking, because you are always going to have, there's always going to be a trigger of this past emotional response that you've had in a past event, which then brings back your limiting beliefs. So it's not always necessarily a long-term change. Does that make sense? Which is why I love belief coding so much, because in belief coding, we actually identify where your limiting beliefs have come from, heal that trauma, and then create new beliefs, which is a much quicker way of doing it. But obviously, creating affirmations can work if repeating them over time, but it just takes longer. So yeah, if you can work out where your limiting beliefs have come from, what has created those limiting beliefs, journal it out. What events, what experiences in your past come up to you when journaling that could have created these limiting beliefs, and go back to those times and try and reframe them. Try and look at them in a different way. And eventually, if you consistently do this, then your limiting beliefs will change over time, and your affirmations will change your subconscious thinking over time. So yeah, I'm really excited to hear how you get on with this and to hear what you thought of this episode. As always, if you have enjoyed this episode, please do tell people about it. Please do rate and review whatever you can do. I love how I always rhyme at that bit. Please do rate and review, or what was it I just said? Rate and review whatever you can do. God, I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. I love how I always come up with rhymes at the end part of the episode. Anyway, I'm going to let you go now. Go and create some powerful affirmations, and I hope my rules and tips have helped you. Let me know how you get on. Next week, I have got another guest on, hopefully, fingers crossed, and she's going to be talking about journaling. So yeah, I look forward to inviting my guest on. You'll find out who she is next week. But yeah, have an amazing week. Good luck with your affirmations, and speak soon. Bye.